joining us now via Zoom is State Representative Ryan Berman. He is of the 39th District, covers a large swath of our Civic Center TV, Lakes FM, and Megacast broadcast area. Representative Berman, there you are. Good to see you again.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing good. You need to work on your decorating a little bit, though. I mean, all I see is a blank wall and an air vent. You must be working so hard you got no time to decorate it all.
I'm going to have to. I'll put something up for you next time.
I'm just picking on you. It's so funny, though, because we go to these Zoom calls and, like, we see all these people with these lovely houses, and then they're in their really elegant office. And listen, I'm not picking on you. It's kind of like a mirror image because my Zoom office looks identical. It's like there's just a plain wall, and then that's about it. So, I know you're busy, and we've all been watching what's going on up in Owasso. With the barber up in Owasso, and it just on some level, I get that guy's thing, but on some level, it's kind of frustrating because you got this guy who's really frustrated, right? And so he just goes and opens his business. And I don't know what's happening up there today, but the media reports from over the weekend said that he was going to get shut down today. And, there's a lot of troopers out there. And then you got the militia guys that, that don't want to let him in. And sorry to get off to a rough start with you. But, 99% of everything else that's going on is working really well. That's a pretty good example of a little bit of a struggle and a tough time.
Yeah, I think there's, frustrations all around. I mean, I think whether you agree or not with what's been happening, the measures being put in place, I think people are frustrated that they can't go out and work, and people are frustrated that others want to go out and they want to remain safe. And just like anything else in society, I mean, it's a balancing act. And what we have to do is, look at the big picture. And with any issue, it's not just, in a vacuum. And this pandemic and medical issues are not just in a vacuum. It touches every part of our lives. It's a domino effect. So, we can't stay in our homes forever. And you do that, and there's a lot of other news of the taxes, again, we have unemployment and these stimulus monies, but that is really the taxpayers' own money coming back to them. Okay, the federal government just doesn't print money, and that's not how it works, out of thin air. And we have to look at these implications of taxes coming back in, running our government, running these businesses. A lot of these businesses are being shut down. I think I just heard it's 40% of the restaurants are not going to reopen. And this is, our food supply chain, is starting to break down with closures of different plants and processing, and things are kind of looking bleak. But, when we are reopening and other states reopening and doing it, and I think it's what you said in your previous about the Oakland County health orders, and it's that balancing of doing something, but doing it safely. I think last time I was on interviewed by you, it was talking about that dichotomy of essential versus non-essential. And I believe, my position the whole time, I think that's a false dichotomy. It should be what can be done safely versus non-safely. And whether that barber in Owasso who's wearing a mask, doing things like that. And again, that's close personal contact. I'm not going to be driving to Owasso, getting my hair cut. I don't think I'm going to be getting my hair cut. I mean, I've been cutting my own hair.
I was going to say, I don't know what you're doing, but you got a good trim there, Representative Berman. You take a look at me. This is just the only reason my dude looks as slick as it does is thanks to a little bit, actually, an awful lot of gel I've been using to get through it. But you got some skills there. You're able to cut your own hair pretty well. Or you getting some help from somebody else at the house?
When you have a short military type almost haircut, it's kind of easy to do it.
All right.
So now,
but what do you think?
I'm not working with much anyways. So.
Oh, you're doing. You look great. But what do you think about that? I mean, I don't want to dwell on the Owasso thing, but I clearly, there's a lot to be said for both sides of that argument.
Yeah, but and again, I think it comes down to, knowing the dangers, knowing what's out there, what's the proper role for government to play in this versus businesses and individuals. At the end of the day, if in before this pandemic, we knew of certain businesses or restaurants that maybe weren't as clean and you would kind of avoid. And I think that's what's going to go through this, afterwards, is who's taking proper precautions to make the customers feel safe. And at the end of the day, it's up to customers, it's up to the people to decide whether they feel comfortable knowing the risks to go to an establishment, to go to a certain place, to go get their haircut. It's their choice. And that's what it makes America and capitalism and our economy, our country, what it is. If you don't feel safe, don't go. Stay at home. We know what the risks are. The whole part, and again, the governor's orders initially to do the stay at home order is to flatten the curve. And we've done that. And I get it. There's always going to be, and they're talking about a second wave, there's always that threat. But just knowing and what has done and these changing behaviors, changing your physical distancing, whether it's wearing masks, shaking hands, washing your hands, I think that's going to contribute a lot to what those numbers are. Now that we have the data, again, I don't believe it supports these continuing lockdown restrictions.
All right, Ryan Berman with us. He is a representative, your Michigan State representative from the 39th District. And, I love doing this show because we get to hear a variety of opinion. That's what America is all about, and that's what we're trying to do here. You're saying, I think if I'm hearing what you're saying is people have the ability to make these decisions for themselves, and you'd like to see things opened up a little bit more. We heard from Dave Coulter, county executive, who's on the other side of the aisle with a slightly different opinion. So, we're going to have to get this thing sorted out. Legislature has sued the governor. We're going to see some action on that. Do you have any update where we are at this week?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, and I think unfortunately this is turning into a political thing, right? And before I get into the lawsuit, where you have a lot of people trying to support the governor because they're of the same party. Last time I was on your interview, I was talking about having these outdoor, whether it's construction, landscaping, fertilizing companies, and I ended up getting blasted for that. And 2 days later, the governor comes out and says, yeah, landscaping can go back to work. And there's crickets. Nobody was complaining about it because it came from her. And I think we have to take a step back and look at things from a rational, reasonable perspective, and, not who's the messenger, but what the message is, and not make it so political. The lawsuit that the legislature has enacted, and again, I just said what my personal thoughts were on the orders. And yeah, they may differ, but I don't think that's a partisan thing. And the legislature isn't suing the governor because of her orders. And it's not that whether we like or dislike her orders. That's not the issue here. A lot of my colleagues and a lot of Republicans agree with it and agree with what she's doing. The reality is no matter, especially in a district I'm in anything half semi-contentious, you vote one way or you vote the other, you're going to always upset half of the people. So you need to make decisions, with the data and everything, and rational and coming together consensus. And that's what I try to do. But going back to the lawsuit, it's not a political thing. And I would be standing up for the same thing, whether, and it wasn't, the votes weren't on exactly party lines. There were Democrats that voted along with us. It's a constitutional issue, and it's the proper role with the separation of powers. Here in our system of government, and it's enshrined in our Michigan Constitution, we have a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and an executive branch. This is going back to elementary school, the fundamentals you learn in civics. The legislature makes the laws, the executive enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. Now, what's happened is that we see the governor, the executive who enforces laws, she's been making the laws. And she has discretion, just like any police officer, enforcing the law, whether to write you a ticket or not, whether, stop you for speeding. They have like the ultimate discretion of whether you're going to end up getting charged or do something like that. So in that respects of enforcing the law, there's much discretion. The way the governor has of whether to suspend certain laws during this pandemic or allow some leeway, things like that. But when she starts making the law and doing orders, again, without the legislature's oversight or input, she's getting into the realm of legislating.
Ryan Berman, do you
And
think it became an issue because it's been going on so long? I mean, clearly the
yes,
governor, I don't think anyone dispute the governor needs to be able to do some quick draw executive orders when an emergency breaks out. But this has been going on for a while, and it seems to me that's the root of this complaint with the governor is that it's been going on for a while. The legislature wants to speak up on this and have some input on what we're doing and going forward. Is that correct?
no, that's 100% correct. So again, constitutionally, our Michigan Constitution says no branch can exercise the powers of another branch. However, back in 1945 and then in 1976, there's two acts: an Emergency Powers of Governor Act and also the Emergency Management Act, that allows a governor in times of an emergency to have certain powers and broad powers, but also to be constitutional, they have to be restricted. You can't just grant a general power to the governor, which we're seeing right now her basically using. So the 1976 Act places limits in what type of situations and also the length of time for legislative input and oversight. It grants 28 days. And what happened is if it goes beyond 28 days, both chambers of the legislature have to approve by a concurrent resolution. We did that back on April 7th till April 30th. So we extended that 28-day period an extra 23 days to April 30th. She asked for that extension. We gave her an extension. She's now asked for another extension on April 30th, and we couldn't come to terms with her. So we decided to not grant that extension. And that's when she unilaterally ended the emergency, which she had to do under the statutes. But then not 1 minute later, enacted a new emergency, if you will, with the same underlying fact patterns in the COVID-19, and to start this 28-day window over again, which is obviously, just kind of absurd. She could keep doing it in perpetuity and just say, oh, we don't have a legislature anymore. And I don't think that the framers, I don't think our people and our constitutional government operates that way.
All right. Well, it's schoolhouse rock time, ladies and gentlemen, because now we got the governor, we got the legislature, and we've got the courts all involved. So we'll watch and see how this thing's going to play out, and we'll keep an eye on it. Ryan Berman, State Representative, 39th District, you've got your magic wand. What would you be doing today if you were governor and you had that ultimate authority with the restaurants and some of the other sectors of business that aren't open? Do you want to see, our restaurants in West Bloomfield and other locations start to open up pretty soon?
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that we have health codes. We have things that restaurants have to do now. And again, it's putting more standards, if that's what it takes, in there, where even locally, when you're talking about Oakland County Health Department, before the governor's orders, we dealt with, and I think we need to have a regional, local response of saying, hey, whatever your capacity is, you have to limit it. We limited it at 50% initially. I think going back, there's plans out there doing 25% capacity. I think whether there was a limit or not, restaurants are going to do it on their own. They already talked about taking out tables, separating, make sure it's that physical distance standards. And I absolutely agree. I'd say let them open up. And again, I don't think people are going to be rushing to go into these restaurants. They're going to see it's going to take time to build up their clientele and make people feel safe again. And at the end of the day, again, it is those customers, our residents, it's their decisions whether they want to frequent the restaurant or not. But I say let them do it, not tie their hands and say they can't. If they end up going out of business, it's not because the government forced them. It's because of just the market and people's feelings and safety.
I'm trying to stay out of the weeds and all this, but I can't ask the questions I want to ask without getting in the weeds a little bit. So, manufacturing opens up. Do you see manufacturing as being any different than some of the other sectors in our economy? Some critics of the governor have said she's picking winners and losers without a lot of rationale. And you take a look at manufacturing in Michigan, tremendous amount, and I don't want to get political, but a tremendous amount of political influence here in Michigan. And now manufacturing is going to open up. And, you know, you look at, again, some would say you look at a big manufacturing plant like an auto plant, and you measure that against a restaurant, and maybe there's not a whole lot of difference. What are your thoughts?
I think, on the one hand, when you're opening up businesses, and what I've said all along when she did this dichotomy of essential versus non-essential businesses, these non-essential businesses, or she claims are non-essential, these, whether it's a random, whatever type of company, the general public isn't going to those businesses. So those interactions aren't happening for like more spread. It's the gas stations, the grocery stores, convenience stores, the things that have been open this entire time. Those are still the same points that me, myself, you, other people in random businesses are all going to go to at some point. Those are the contact points that somebody is going to, leave their germs, get germs, something like that, where you have to be more careful. It's not the random businesses that we aren't going to. The same thing for manufacturing. You have people, only the workers typically are going to go there. So I think in that respect, maybe, restaurants, which are open to the general public, everybody's going to, are a bit more, at risk. But it's one of those things of let it happen if you feel comfortable going versus not.
All right, Ryan. Well, I appreciate your thoughts. Representative Ryan Berman, Michigan State Representative, 39th District, joining us here in the MegaCast today. Anywhere else you want to go? It's good to talk to you. I appreciate you coming on and just saying what you're thinking. I don't hear a lot of spin coming from you, so I appreciate it. Anything else you want to share with our viewers today, listeners?
I mean, again, my office is always available. We're, in this time, my constituent relations guy, Zach, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's basically working for the Unemployment Insurance Agency, our economy, our people. And again, it's not putting profits over people. It's putting people first. Everybody says we're all in this together, but we're not all in the same boat. People are getting paid to work remotely. Some people aren't getting paid. Their businesses are getting shut down. We're not in the same boat. We're in the same circumstance, and it's hopefully everybody to get through this. I'm hearing it from people even this morning. Is May 28th, is that it? Can I open up? And unfortunately, and that's what this lawsuit is all about, I don't know. Nobody knows. Only the governor knows, because she's the only one making these decisions right now, and I think that's wrong. Whether she's a Democrat or Republican, I would be saying the same thing in the same lawsuit, because I believe and I swore an oath to uphold and defend our Constitution. And for me not to do that is basically saying the job and role I'm in right now as a legislature is meaningless. And I would want the governor to do my job. And that's not how it works. So, I'm here for you guys, repberman.com. You can go and contact my office anytime, and appreciate you having me.
All right. Well, thank you very much. One final question. The Cranes Detroit Business today has an article talking about the $4.6 billion unemployment fund that we have in Michigan. You look at us versus some other states, we've done a pretty good job of building that fund up over several years. and a really interesting article about that again in Crane's Detroit Business today. But even so, even with our fund, which is in a lot better shape than most of the other states, is only going to last so long. Is that something the legislature is looking at? You're worried about? Discussions are going on, or have we not mined down to that one yet?
No, absolutely. We have a few different task forces going on right now in the legislature. One of them is for these business, which includes unemployment. I know we have an oversight committee, coronavirus oversight task force that was created, and they're actually meeting on Wednesday. And their first issue is to go and look into what's going on with our unemployment insurance agency, how it's working right now, how it's not working for the people. And one of those issues that will end up being brought up is the amount and how sustainable and what's going to happen to that money, because it's paid in by the businesses. And with this time and being unprecedented, and we have over 1.2 million unemployment claims right now, and it's just staggering what a toll it's going to take, even when you factor in federal and some of the federal stimulus money that hopefully could end up maybe replenishing. But it's a big issue.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully the money will be there, and hopefully we're going to come out of this thing quick, too. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Nobody knows, but thank you, Representative Berman, for joining us today. Good to talk to you again.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
We enjoy our chats. Thank you, sir. He is State Representative Brian Berman from the 39th District.